Right now, we're going to continue in our worship by reading scripture, and it's my pleasure to get to read to you from Paul's letter to 1 Timothy. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, not to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Nathan. I'm on staff here at the church. And get us started, I want to ask you ever been to a place, like to a restaurant or to some event, that was so nice, it was so fancy, you wanted to kick yourself out of the event? Like you thought, I do not belong here. This is for somebody else, some rich person, some fancy person. It's just not me. A couple months ago, Charlie, who was up here leading worship with us, who's on staff with us, and I went on a work trip, and we were meeting with an organization. And if you've ever had to do that, occasionally they're like, hey, we want to take you guys out to dinner. And so what we did not know was we were going to the nicest steakhouse I had ever been to. I'm talking like $85 a plate and up. Like super nice restaurant, amazing food, even better dessert. And when we were leaving, the best part were these little white chocolate truffles that they had. These things were amazing. And so as we're leaving, I'm like, I'm going to go back to the dessert table and get another one of these white chocolate truffles. The problem was we were leaving right in that moment, and I realized as I had the truffles in my hand, this is not the kind of place you can just walk through eating as you go. So instead, I just shoved them into my pants pocket and walked out, as I'm sure there was some waiter or a patron who was taking my picture and putting me on a blacklist, never to return again. Tops my previous embarrassment at a restaurant when I was a teenager. We had gone for seafood, and I had ordered some food, and the waitress asked, do you want the super salad? And I responded, sure, I've never had a super salad, but if it's super, that'd be great. And she said, sir, you're going to have to leave this establishment. You are too stupid to be here. Some of us just aren't meant to be fancy people. That's just the problem. Some of us aren't meant to be rich people, which I think is what happens for many of us when we hear read the words that we just heard that Ed read here from Paul. These are words from Paul, who is an early church leader, and he is writing to a young pastor that he's mentoring named Timothy. And he tells Timothy, command those who are rich in this present age, in this present world, not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth. Most of us hear that and we think that, yes, that is great advice for some rich people that are out there, because that ain't me. I ain't a rich person. So this passage ain't got nothing to do with me. Most of us here, those who are rich, those who are arrogant about their wealth, and we think about billionaires and CEOs, whoever we think are the wealthy elite. And what I find interesting is no matter where you kind of sit on political division or any of that, everybody on every side of the aisle has a different version of who the wealthy elite are. And all of us think the wealthy elite are arrogant, that they need to be taken down a peg. And I think part of that is because we think, I ain't that wealthy and I ain't that elite. I'm not the rich person. We think of wealth, and this is why I think it's wise, we primarily think of wealth as something that is relative. It's a spectrum that people find themselves on. There are some really wealthy people, Elon Musk, Beyonce, those are the two, Elon Musk and Beyonce, and if I'm not Elon Musk or Beyonce, I'm not the rich person. We get that. Sure, I'm wealthier than people on this side. There are people in Haiti, and I'm wealthier than them, but the standard of living here is higher, so it all kind of balances out. I'm not that rich. And I think the reason why is because the way we in America primarily think about being rich, we think of it in terms of disposable income. What I mean is the amount of money you have left over after you pay for all the things you need and all the bills you've got. And then, of course, there's some stuff you should want that you can have that. And whatever's left over at the end of that, the disposable income that you have, well, that's how wealthy you are. And most of us would say, look, I'm struggling to even get bills paid. I'm struggling to buy most of the stuff I need or that I even want, so I'm not the rich person here. We think of wealth primarily, and this is what disposable income is, we think of it primarily as the ability to buy more stuff. It's not the amount of stuff I already have. It's how much more stuff can I buy if I wanted to buy it. In the ancient world, that is not how they measured wealth. When Paul is writing to the rich, he was not primarily talking about cash flow. That is not the way they would have thought of wealth. They measured wealth in terms of what you already own, what you already have at your disposal. So don't think of wealth, when Paul talks about it, purely as the amount of money in your bank account or how well you're doing compared to someone else. The car you drive is wealth. And I don't mean how nice the car is. I mean the fact that you have a car. And in fact, if you've got 2 cars in your household, compared to the rest of the world, you are incredibly wealthy. Your home is wealth. Turn to somebody next to you and just take a guess. What is the average home size in square feet in the world? Just turn to somebody next to you and just take a guess. What do you think the average home square footage is? All right, who guessed around 1,000? Somewhere around 1,000. You guessed way too high. It's around 600 square feet. 600 square feet, around 600, 650, somewhere in that is the average. So if your home is bigger than 650 square feet because you live in Coweta County, you're doing better than the majority of the rest of the world. And on top of that, the average household size in Coweta County is significantly smaller than the rest of the world. So most people are living in significantly smaller homes with a lot more people in the space. And because we have smaller family sizes, what are we doing with all the extra space in our home? We got closets full of clothes. That's wealth. We got food in our fridge. The fact you even have a fridge. The fact you have enough food right now in your stomach that if you didn't eat the rest of the day, ain't nothing happening to your health. That's wealth. The storage units we have, the land we own, the money we have tied up in investments, the vacations we go on, all of these things are wealth. Now, they subtract from our disposable income. That doesn't mean that it's not wealth. And I think we all get this intellectually. Yeah, I don't even have to tell you America is the richest country in the history of the world. You know that. The problem is we don't feel rich. The problem that we come into when we read the words of Paul is not that we're not rich. It's that we have to convince rich people you are rich because we don't feel it. When I pay my bills and I look at my bank account, what I feel is stressed. What I feel is anxious. I might even feel embarrassed. I don't feel what Paul says. I don't feel arrogant over my wealth. And I want to acknowledge that because there's a lot of research that has been done that even though Americans who, like I said, on average, are wealthier than 90% of the world's population, we deal with just as much depression and anxiety around our finances as anyone else. Worse, we feel a lot of shame because we know we got handed more money than everyone else. And we still feel just as stressed as everyone else. So what I want you to hear today is not about anyone trying to make you feel guilty about your wealth or tell you how bad everybody else has it, and not that you got it so well. This is not to make you feel ashamed or stressed if your finances are tight right now, but it is to help us see God has blessed us beyond measure. God has blessed us beyond measure. And that is something, as Paul would say, that is for us to enjoy. that we should be filled with joy over this. Paul says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. He didn't provide it with you so you felt terrible about yourself with it. God has richly provided those who are rich, us rich people in this room, with wealth for our enjoyment. And so today is about saying, hey, you are richer than you think you are. You are wealthier than you probably feel like you are. And that is not something to feel intense amounts of guilt or shame about. It is something to take joy in. It is something that we are to praise God for. It should lead us to overflow with gratitude and to delight in His goodness for us. And so, before we move on, I want us to take a moment to just be thankful to God for all His blessings. And Ed is going to come and lead us in that.
You know, every week when we come together, we take a part of the memorial of the greatest gift we ever received, which is Jesus. We handed these little symbols to you when you came in, of bread and juice, and we're not going to take those yet for those of y'all that get all geared up and start ripping them open. That's not going to happen yet. But they're to remind us of this great gift given to us. In fact, if you didn't get some of these when you came in, there's going to be a moment where you can go and get some. They're right outside those doors that you can grab some if you want to partake with us. But what I want you to do is I want to invite you to prepare yourself in the way that we should when we're about to receive a great gift. I want you to prepare yourself to be thankful. I want to help you get your heart in that place. So if you would, get yourself in a comfortable position so you can sit with your eyes closed and no tension. And then we're going to take a few moments and we're going to thank God. So would you go ahead, close your eyes. Father, all of us at some place in our heart know that we have been blessed beyond measure. And we can't thank you enough for all of it and everything you've done for us. But would you receive our little prayers of gratitude to you? Now, while you're still bowed, would you take a moment and thank God that you're alive, for the breath in your lungs, for the time you've had on this planet already, and the strength and health that you still have in your body. Do that right now. Now, would you bring to mind the faces of people that you cherish? Your family, your close friends, people that have been with you through really hard times, those that just when you see them, they bring you joy. Thank God for creating these people and for filling your life with them. Now think about the simple pleasures of life. Maybe the taste of coffee when you first wake up, or ice cream, or bacon. Or what it feels like to just have a cool breeze come your way on a really hot day. Or the warmth of the sun on your face when it's cold. What a gift it is to have good music that moves your soul, or the gift of laughter. Thank God for those gifts. Now give thanks to God for the gift of His presence, His grace, His power in our lives, His comfort when things are really hard, His joy, His peace, His love that never ends. Thank God for those gifts. And now, give thanks to God for Jesus, who made every gift possible, for His body and blood that's been given for you to forgive your sins and offer you a whole new life with God.
Paul says to the rich in this present age, not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain. Well, what is the arrogance of the wealthy? How do you put your hope in wealth? Well, let's look at a story Jesus once told. One day when Jesus was teaching, a man in the crowd called out and asked Jesus to make his brother give him his share of the inheritance. And Jesus responds, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." Now, most of us don't see this as greedy. This man just wanted the inheritance he was owed. But Jesus sees something deeper in his heart that needs to be addressed. Don't begin to think life about how much stuff you can own. There's more to enjoy in this life. And then Jesus tells the man a parable. The land of a certain man produced an abundance of a harvest, more food than he could eat by himself. And so what does he do? Then he said, "I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." He puts his hope in wealth. If I build bigger barns to store up this food, then I'll have more than I could ever use. And then I could really enjoy my life. I'll take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But that's not the end of the story. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?" Now remember, this story came about because of a man who was arguing with his brother over his father's inheritance. Jesus ends by asking, who will get what you have prepared for yourself? It will just become something your children fight over when you're dead. This is the arrogance of wealth. The arrogance of wealth is that my wealth will produce a long and healthy and enjoyable life for me. The more I have, the more secure my future and my retirement and my health care will be. The more I have, the more I will enjoy my time on this planet. But Jesus' story reminds us, you don't even know when your time will run out. And so Jesus says, this is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves but is not rich toward God. There's a way to be rich in this present age, and there's a way to be rich towards God. And when we're rich towards God, it's a different kind of enjoyment. Imagine for a moment, this story went differently. Imagine the man sees the huge harvest his land produced and thought, this is a blessing from God. It's more food than I can ever eat in a year. So maybe all this wasn't meant for me. Maybe it was meant for me to share with those who don't have enough food for today. Imagine he throws a massive feast, and as Jesus would say in another parable, invites in the poor and the widows and the orphans, the disabled, and those who can't work. And instead of storing up that treasure in a barn, he fed those who needed it. And he has so much that people could take home as much as they needed. Don't you think that man would have still enjoyed the wealth God had given him? He just enjoyed it in a different way. In a way that would last long after the party was over. He would have stored up treasure in heaven. But instead, This man fell into the arrogance of wealth. As one early church father, St. Augustine, said of the man in the story, he did not realize that the bellies of the poor were much safer storerooms than his barns. What he was stowing away in those barns was perhaps even then being stolen away by thieves. But if he stowed it away in the bellies of the poor, it would of course be digested on earth. But in heaven, it would be kept all the more safely. This is what Jesus meant when he said a little later in the story, "Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide purses for yourselves that will not wear out, a treasure in heaven that will never fail, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys." And it's what the Apostle Paul meant when he instructed Timothy. Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasure for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. There is a life that is truly life, a way to enjoy our riches and blessings in this life. But it's not in storing up more wealth in our bank accounts or our garages. It's in placing our hope in God, being generous and willing to share. This is how we truly be rich.
So I think it often is kind of said that the issue with greed is that we all just like our stuff too much. We just enjoy our stuff too much. We get too much out of our own stuff. I don't actually think that's what the issue with greed is. I don't think the issue is all of us enjoy our stuff too much. Paul says to tell the rich people, put your hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. The problem is not taking joy in it. God has given us an abundance of blessings that we would enjoy the blessings he's given to us. I think the problem is most of us do not take joy in our stuff. We take joy in getting new stuff, getting more stuff. See, this Thursday, we're going to celebrate a day of Thanksgiving, and many of us are going to sit around tables with people we love, and we'll say, hey, go around and say what you're most thankful for. And in that moment, you will remember the blessings I actually care about are around this table. The blessings that matter most to us are around this table. It is the people in my life. They are the greatest blessings in my life. And then within 24 hours, we'll be standing in line or shopping online looking for great deals that were intended to make us think, maybe you don't have enough blessings. Maybe you'd enjoy your stuff a little more if you just got some more of it. Maybe if you bought some more, you'd like it. Because here's the problem. Shopping provides a quicker form of enjoyment that is a lesser form. It is a dopamine hit. And they've done these kind of studies. Every time you swipe that credit card, every time you do a little purchase, every time you put something in your shopping cart online, you get this little bit of hit of dopamine, and it feels really good. It feels like you're enjoying it. And then eventually, some of us, before the thing even gets to our home, that dopamine is worn off, and we quickly feel guilty about how much money we just spent on this thing because we feel a little too materialistic. And so our closets get full and our garages and our basement get full of stuff that at one point was just a little hit of dopamine, but now we're just feeling guilty about how materialistic we are. So then we go and we clean out all those spaces and we get rid of the stuff and we empty space so that the next time I need a dopamine hit and this is what we call it, I need some retail therapy. The next time I need to deal with a problem in my life, don't go to actual therapy. Don't actually go talk to someone. Just get another little dopamine hit. Make it feel a little better. And the cycle can start all over again. Once again, do not hear me say that God doesn't want you to enjoy the stuff that he's given to you. What I'm saying is you're not actually enjoying it enough. You're not actually enjoying the stuff that you have. You're hungry for something you don't have. You're wishing for something you don't, not the stuff that already has been given to you. Most of my life, this was the way I handled all of the stuff that was given to me, this little cycle of dopamine to guilt. And a few years ago, I got pretty convicted about this. And what it kind of came to me was, every time I do this, I'm not actually enjoying any of this stuff. And I really do want to enjoy the blessings I have. I don't want to feel guilty about the stuff I got. I want to enjoy the stuff I got. And I wanted to follow Paul's instructions to actually be rich. And when he says you be rich in this present age, or really the age of the life that is to come, is you be rich in good deeds, and you be generous, and you be willing to share. You know, I didn't feel rich. Most of us, when we go shopping, we think we're going to feel rich, and we don't by the time we get home. We feel more stressed, and we feel more guilty. I want to learn, how do I be rich in God's way? I wanted to experience what Paul says just before these verses to Timothy. He tells him, before he says this to the rich people, godliness with contentment is great gain. Contentment is the ability to feel rich. The feeling you think you will have when you are a rich person is contentment. Oh, I've got everything I need. Everything's taken care of. I've even got some stuff I want that I don't need. Contentment is the ability to understand, hey, what I need is what I need. What I wanted to experience, to truly enjoy what I already have, to take contentment in what I already have, not just to enjoy the fact that maybe I can get some more. By the way, that's what American consumerism will convince you of. That's why there's going to be so much advertising over the next few months leading up to Christmas. It is going to tell you you can only feel rich if when you have the urge to get something more, you can spend the money and get something more. That's how you know you're rich, is rich people never have to say, no, I can't buy that right now. No, I need to save up a little bit for that. Rich people can just go out and buy whatever they want. I can only be happy if I see something and I can get it. Next year's vacation can only be enjoyable if it's bigger than this year's vacation. Everything has to keep getting moved. Contentment says, if God gave this to me to enjoy it, then I have to discipline myself to enjoy it. Because everything else in the world is going to try and convince me what you got don't matter. You need something different. Contentment is trusting what Paul says next after this. He says, we brought nothing into this world, and we're taking nothing out of this world. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. And we're like, well, Paul didn't have Amazon. Paul didn't know about Shein. If Paul knew about Shein, we'd be in a whole different deal right now. Contentment, Paul says, is understanding all I really need is what I really need. Food and clothing and shelter, which is something we teach our kids all the time. Difference between wants and needs while we're over here shopping on the phone. The difference between wants and needs. We say everything else is just a blessing. And so when you get something that is beyond food, clothing, and shelter, what do you do with it? Enjoy it. Thank God for it. Say, what a blessing this is. It's not that I somehow become resentful for the home that I always wanted, that now that I'm in it, I go, why can't I upgrade this more? And all I notice are the things that are falling apart and that I wish were different, right? Or frustrated that my car needs a few repairs, and why can't I just get a car that doesn't ever need any kind of repairs? Or jealous that I can't take advantage of the latest sale. Contentment is that maturity that some of us don't have that says, we don't need to pick Chick-fil-A up on the way home. We got food at home. And the rest of us have become our own children who are like, the food we have at home sucks. Chick-fil-A is great. I want to go after this. And we don't see that as some kind of loss. I see the stuff that I already have as a blessing and as a gift. Here's the problem. You can't choose to be content. Contentment is also a gift. Contentment is the result of choosing to live a life that your goal is not to be rich in this present age, but in the life of the age to come. To be rich in good deeds, generous and willing to share. Which is, I have to begin with this firm conviction that God has more for me to do with my stuff than get me more stuff. He does want me to enjoy it. It is possible that getting more stuff won't make you enjoy it anymore. That just getting new stuff will not make you enjoy it, because all your old stuff used to be new stuff. And now you don't enjoy that anymore. Then maybe the way you enjoy something is you understand God gave me these blessings for more than just me to get more. He has given them to me that I could be generous and willing to share. He is longing to form within me the same heart he has. The heart of God, who, as Paul will tell us, has never withheld any good gift from us because he did not withhold his own son from us, as we just sang. Not even his own son would he withhold from us. That maybe his desire is that I would enjoy my stuff by being truly rich, generous and willing to share. That I would find more joy in my stuff, not from what I could get out of it, but what I could give to others. See, when giving becomes my priority, I naturally enjoy what I have left over a little bit more. Because you're like, look at the good I did over here with this. And then I don't feel the need to buy more. And so what actually happens is I have more disposable income left over. And then I actually feel like a rich person. I look and go, man, I have a little bit left over at the end of the month. So that's why every year around Thanksgiving we have Do Something Sunday. This is the day. It's our annual reminder to say, hey, God has richly blessed you. You are a rich person, and that is not something for you to take guilt over or shame over. It is something to enjoy. What a blessing it is that God has allowed us to be people who could be generous and willing to share. That God's plan for everyone to have what they need is that some people who have more than what they need would share with others who don't have all that they need. This begins with followers of Jesus because we are convinced, we are the ones who are convinced that Jesus has already given us more than what we need in this present age and for the life of the age to come. So we can be rich in generosity, not because I feel too guilty about having too much stuff, but because we have learned to enjoy our things with godliness and contentment. And we want to be rich in good deeds. So at the end of each year, we launch a few different projects that we think are going to be really good in our community, that will do a lot of good for those in need right here in Coweta County. And we ask everyone in our church, would you be willing to do something to contribute to these projects? None of us can do everything to help everyone in need. None of us can do everything that needs to be done for these particular projects. But everyone can do something. And so here's what that looks like. If you've been around here all the time, you know I'm about to ask. We ask every person in our church to give $29.95. If you would give $29.95 per person, you were going to get, someone's going to try and give you a sales pitch at some point going, hey, you're not enjoying your stuff enough, but if you bought this for $29.95, you'd enjoy it a little bit more. And so we're jumping in on the same game and saying maybe you need to give it away. $29.95 per person in your family. And so if you've got a family of 4, it's about $120 that you'd say, hey, I'd give this away to these projects to do good. Something that I was probably going to spend on something that eventually would fill up space in my closet or a garage, and then later I'd have to throw away so I can buy another thing to put in my closet or in my garage. Maybe I could, as Augustine said, maybe I could store this treasure in the life of someone who actually needs it, not just for myself. Ed has often said for years around here, we regret purchases we make all the time, but we have never regretted money we gave that did good in the life of another person. You never look back on like, man, I really wish I hadn't helped them. You look back and go, look at what God did. So you'll see that on your chair right now, there's a card. On the back of it, there is a QR code that will lead you to a site where if you want to go ahead, some of you I know already had planned coming into today. Hey, I'm going to be given to this. You can follow that QR code. There's a secure link there where you can give to this Do Something Fun. But I also want you to get to hear a little bit about what these projects are going to do. So while you're doing that, let's watch this together.
For years, our church has been growing in our desire to do something about the problems we see in our world. Growing in our love for Jesus means growing in our care for the people he cares about. And Scripture makes it clear, Jesus has a deep heart for those in need. That's why we want to be a church that partners with him in meeting the needs of the most vulnerable in our community. Over the past couple of years, we've been focusing those efforts at Welch Elementary through our partnership with Elevate Coweta. Elevate works with Coweta schools to provide support for students and families in need, primarily through a mentoring program that many people in our church have been a part of. Beyond that, we've joined with Southcrest Church to help fund the work of Linda Bennett, the on-site coordinator for Elevate Coweta at Welch. Linda's role is vital, not only in leading our volunteers, but also in the daily care and encouragement she gives to students who need it most.
Coweta Elevate has played a huge role in just year one. I don't know if many of you guys have met Linda Bennett before, but she's our site coordinator. Her sole purpose is to focus on students and what they need. Not so much academics all the time, even though that is in there. She focuses on what students need, whether that's clothing, whether it's school supplies, whether it's food. And then the academics comes in to play with that. She had about 55 students on her caseload. And what that means is that she met with those students at least once a week to go over homework, to see what they needed, to do a study group with them, but just to check in with them. She increased our backpack buddies. We distributed over 1,600 backpacks for take-home food for the weekends and over breaks, reaching over 165 students, which last year we were about 100. So we grew that and was able to uncover a need to find 65 more students that needed it. She also ran a couple programs. She did a reading readiness program where she took literacy skills and worked with students who were struggling. And then also had what's called a Welch Circle of Friends, where she took some fifth grade girls, a small group of girls, and just kind of mentored them herself for a few weeks.
This year, we want to continue funding this incredible work that Elevate Coweta is doing in the lives of at-risk students at Welch Elementary. And we can't wait to see what God does with our simple generosity and our faithfulness to partner with Him. The other effort we're focusing our Do Something efforts on this year is here at Bridging the Gap. Those of you who have been a part of Community Christian for years know how much a staple Bridging the Gap is in our county in providing food and resources for those in need. But due to recent federal budget cuts, many of the funds nonprofits like Bridging the Gap have relied upon for years that have helped them provide relief and assistance to those in need, they're no longer available. For over a decade, Bridging the Gap has been known as a place providing hope to those in dire circumstances. And as the need has grown in Coweta County, so has the price of groceries and basic necessities. And so now, less reliable sources of funding are gone. Bridging the Gap is facing a massive need. With hundreds of clients that rely upon them each week, the cost of Bridging the Gap's food distribution is around $25,000 per week. As you can imagine, that's an overwhelming need, and we can't do everything to meet it, but we can do something. So this year with our giving, we want to bring some relief to the staff at Bridging the Gap who work so tirelessly to bring so much relief to those in need in our community. We want to help them continue to bless the most vulnerable in our community with the hope that comes from knowing where their next meal is coming from. The need's massive, and we can't do everything, but we can do something, and we can trust that God will handle the rest.
Our county, and you probably just know this by looking around, is just growing, and it is so great, and we can't do everything for everyone. I'll tell you what my dream out of this would be is I would love it if we really could just walk to Bridging the Gap and provide them a full week's worth of food and say, this is a week you don't have to worry about. Say, hey, here's $25,000 to handle that for Bridging the Gap, but you don't even have to be that good at math to understand $29.95 per person in a church our size ain't going to get us there. And so the goal here is not some financial goal. This is not, hey, here's the thing and we'll color it in as we go up, as we get up. We're not trying to get to some number. This is the number we always say. We want 100% participation from every person at Community Christian Church at whatever you can do. Because it's not just about meeting a need, though we'll be meeting needs. It really is about us becoming people who are like Jesus, rich in generosity and love for others. And so if you can't give the full $29.95 per person in your family, give what you can give. Give whatever that looks like for you. I know there are people in this church who are going to give well above $29.95 per person in their family. And God, and this is the beauty of what God does with our efforts, God takes it all together and He promises He will press it down, He will shake it together, and He will bless it beyond measure. And if you don't know what blessed beyond measure means you could not count all that God's going to do with it. You couldn't measure it up what God's going to do with it all. It is our job to be faithful to what He has called us to do. And so if you haven't done so already, right now is a good time for you to follow that QR code on your Next Steps card to the site where you can securely give. If you have cash that you want to donate, you see we've got offering envelopes on your chair. You can put cash in there to do that, and just make sure you write "do something" on that card. And as you leave in those yellow buckets, you can drop it in there. If you want to use a check because you're old enough to remember the TV show Hee Haw, you can do that. Just write in the memo line, "do something." That does good. And the reason it's important to mark that it's for "do something," or if you give online that it's for "do something," is because none of that money comes here to us. All the money that goes to that fund, if you're here and you're not sure what you think about all of this, you can know none of that money goes to us. There's no overhead, no handling fee on our part. If it goes in that Do Something fund, it's going to go straight to these projects. I'll say this all the time because we got some students in the room today. When I was a student minister, frequently I would say to them, hey, part of the deal with you is you are a person in this church as well. And so the encouragement that I would give, because it has changed over time. Not all teenagers have jobs anymore. So I would say, you know what the early church would do is they would say, sell your possessions and give them to the poor. And so maybe what you need to do this year is go to your parents and you need to say, you're probably going to spend $30 on me for a gift this year. At least one of them 7, 8, 10 gifts you'll give. Would you give me that $30 now? Let me go give that. And now this is what the parents have to do on this part. The parents can't go, well, I'm going to get them another gift anyway just to bless them on that. Because that's not the point. The point is to learn, I don't enjoy stuff by getting more gifts. Sometimes I enjoy stuff by getting less gifts and giving that away. And so we as parents have to bless that whole thing. Now, if you're here and you're new to our church and it feels a little fishy that people up on stage are asking for money, you should know you don't need to feel pressured to give. You're welcome to participate if these are things that you care about and you want to be a part of. We'd love for that to happen. You don't need to feel pressured to be a part of this. This really is something that those of us who are at Community Christian, who have chosen to follow Jesus, say, we want to be people who take seriously the commands of Jesus. We want to be people who look at what Jesus says, and when He says to do it, we go, okay, we'll do what you say. And this is central to what it means to follow Jesus, to care for those in need. Because Jesus told us when we serve those in need, we are in fact serving Him. And so you don't need to feel obligated to be a part of this. Maybe the best use of this time for you is to consider, is a community where things like that is true, is a community you'd like to be a part of? Because maybe today's your very first day and you're like, this is weird. Do they do this every week? No, we don't do this every week. Maybe you need to take our 3-week challenge and just keep coming back and seeing, are these people for real? If you've already done that, maybe it's time for you to sign up for our 1-hour Next Steps experience where you could actually get to meet some other people. And more than that, they could get to meet you. We could hear your story. We could see how you could fit here in our church community. You can sign up for those things on the Next Step card. Or if you want to be involved in doing something for those in need, maybe you should consider taking the names of a child in our Christmas in Coweta project that gets started today. You can go and buy the gifts for them, for their wish list, and you could bring them back. Make sure you get them back here on Sunday the 14th. Make them sure they're unwrapped with the tag attached. We would love for you to be a part of that. And I certainly hope that if you call Community Christian your home, you'll be involved in all of this, because this really has been a journey for us for over a decade or so, that we really want to be a community of people who take seriously what Jesus says about our money and about what Jesus says for those who are in need. And one of the reasons why is because we take seriously the other part that Jesus says, that He says, you don't have to be anxious about anything. When you get anxious, when you get worried about, well, who's going to take care of me if I'm taking care of other people? What about my food? What about my clothes? Who's going to look out for me? Jesus would say, you look at the birds of the air and the flowers of the field, and if your heavenly Father generously provides for them, how much more so? How much more valuable are you than a sparrow? And so, as we end, we're going to sing together to our God, thanking Him for the way He provides for us. So would you stand with us? Let's sing together.